Welcome to Wolves of the Written Word.
More college students should read.
Reading is cool.
Have you ever read a book before?
Of course I have. This show used to be a podcast.
Dystopian is my favorite genre.
That's depressing.
Wow, I can't believe that's banned.
Wolves of the Written Word.
Wolves of the Written Word.
Wolves of the Written Word. Wolves of the Written Word. Wolves of the Written Word. Wolves of the Written Word. Wolves of the Written Word.
Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wolves of the Written Word, Wolf Radio's flagship book show where we discuss anything related to the written word. I'm your host, Sean Smith.
And I'm your co-host, Adia Stubblefield.
And if you love books, debates, and a little bit of chaos, you're in the right place. If this is your first time tuning in, here's how we do things around here. Number one, we talk about the good and the bad. Number two, we actually read the books most of the time. Number three, we have fun. No gatekeeping, no pressure, just great stories and real conversation. So sit back, relax, and let's get into today's episode. But for now, let's do a little check-in. How are you doing today?
I'm pretty good, yeah. Today definitely feels like a Monday. Like I'm super duper tired, but other than that, pretty good. What about you?
Well, I stayed up until, I think, 4 a.m. or possibly 3 a.m. doing schoolwork. I had an editing project that I had to do for one of my classes. And because now I'm more into my major, I have to focus a little bit more of my attention on, I would say, more of the creative side of stuff. I have to do some story revisions. I had to do some kind of like editing project. I had to create some kind of final project as well. Mostly anything involving over a computer, which requires time and effort. It's a bit hard. What about you? How are your classes?
My classes are pretty good. This semester really went by fast. Like, I feel like I have so much work in so little time. And it's kind of crazy because, like, I feel like it was just January and now it's April.
Yeah, I do agree that for some reason, time is just going a lot faster. For me, it just feels like that even when I do simple things like brush my teeth or get dressed, it's just like about 15 minutes apparently pass as soon as I do it, even though it feels like that I'm just doing simple steps. But for today's episode, as we are diving right in, we are going to be talking about banned books. Now, this is a very serious topic and a very important topic that has been discussed before on Wolves of the Written Word when it was a podcast. Now, for those of you who are kind of unaware, as you know, a banned book is usually a book that has been challenged in some kind of way in regards to its topic or, of course, its content. This can include anything regarding gender, race, or anything involving any kind of community. Banned books have been a bit more increased lately, and there have been apparently new laws in place in regards to banning a lot more books. Now, when you ban a book, usually it kind of focuses a lot more on removing it from a bookstore or a library so you don't actually have access to it. But ironically, it actually creates a bit more of an influx of the popularity of the book. I mean, as soon as you hear that something like a book is banned, you are more drawn to actually wanting to read it a lot more. And I think that it's a lot easier to kind of begin reading when you actually acknowledge that a book has been a bit more challenged. So for the first main topic, what was your first experience with a banned or challenged book? Or at least when was the time when you realized that a book could actually be banned or challenged?
I feel like a lot of the books that I do read are considered banned books. I'm pretty sure didn't what's it called? To Kill a Mockingbird. I'm pretty sure that was banned.
Yes.
For a while. I remember when that book got banned, I was in high school and like my teacher was really upset because that was like a core part of our curriculum. And we did have a talk about like banned books and its impact. And yeah, I definitely agree. When a book is banned, I feel like a lot of time its popularity spikes. Because every time I go to Barnes & Nobles, there's literally a section called banned books, and there's a lot of the banned books there, and a lot of people gravitate towards those books.
For me, similar to you, I have read books when I was younger that I didn't know that were banned or possibly could have been banned because a book is a book. these are things that sit on the shelves until someone picks them up and reads them. People are actually a lot more sensitive about books in this way. Now, I can see maybe a TV show or a movie that can probably garner a lot of removal from TV stations, but for a book, for something that has been written, I guess maybe 100 years ago or even longer or even 50 years ago, can still garner this much attention is kind of weird for me. For me, mostly challenged books that I have read, Captain Underpants by Dave Pickley. That was a very challenged book.
I remember that being challenged. Like, I don't get why when like a show like Teen Titans Go was up, I don't see how Captain Underpants was that bad.
It was banned because it forced or kind of made aware of kids of challenging authority, which included teachers or adults. It also had inappropriate humor, and it also had a lot of spell checks or like a lot of misspellings, and people worried that if kids were to read it, then they would intentionally misspell a lot of stuff, because Dave Pickley kind of sort of kept in his mistakes as he was creating the show and the books. Also, a lot of famous other banned books, of course. I did read To Kill a Mockingbird, also Catcher in the Rye as well. But that was post-banned books when I discovered it. But mostly anything involving around kids' books like Captain Underpants have been banned. I didn't read Harry Potter until like around high school, but it also was a very predominantly banned book for including witchcraft and a lot of magic elements that were kind of deemed kind of offensive towards different religious groups. And I also kind of noticed that also it was weird that Harry Potter kind of was banned, but I think Percy Jackson
was not banned, yeah.
Even though I think that maybe it can include like maybe some pagan style things if people kind of interpret it that way. But no, it wasn't banned or challenged, which is interesting to me. But I think that people are a lot more sensitive about witches and sticks and chants compared to, I guess, Greek mythology.
I agree.
But I know that for banned books, it's very hard to kind of understand them a bit, because I know that for me, seeing that a book has been banned is a bit harder compared to like having it a bit more stable. So how did a banned book make you change your realization in the way that you view reading? Does it still make you feel like that a banned book would allow you to draw yourself a bit in more, or does it feel like that it pushes you away?
It kind of draws me in a bit more, because when I read a banned book, I feel like it's banned for a reason. And I feel like a lot of like the popular books that are banned because they make you think. And that really does make me want to read them more, because I feel like knowledge is really important. And if we aren't reading banned books that have heavy topics, then we're losing a lot of knowledge.
It allows you to kind of be aware of certain topics as well. And one of my assignments for my class is media diversity, where we had to grade a film based on race and gender. Like, it's less about how well the film is, but rather how diverse it is, how much they're trying to represent something. And some books do represent certain things that allow for people to be a bit more aware of things.
Yeah.
Like, I know that, of course, some of the most famous banned books aren't just like fiction books. They're also historical books. I know that some books about the civil rights movement have been banned. If you go to Pen America, the Instagram, they actually have a little list of books that have actually been a bit banned and challenged. And that also includes reference books as well.
Because, like, I just looked it up because I didn't remember if this book was banned or not. But The Hate You Give was a banned book. And I feel like that book is really important to young readers. And it makes no sense to me why it's banned. I feel like just because of the race connotation. But I feel like teenagers and young adults should be aware of what's going on.
Before we go any further, a quick word from our partners. Are you ready for the hottest concert that ever hit West Georgia to make its return? Wolfstock 2026 is back. Come experience the greatest music event Thursday, April 9th from 6 to 9 p.m. and unleash the wolf within the Campus Center Ballroom. There will be live music, food, games, and more. Don't miss out on UWG's own finest performers at the biggest concert of the year. You might even recognize a face or two. Wolfstock 2026 is brought to you by Monster Energy, Westwoods Apartments, Dine West, Flagship Carrollton, Illuminated Productions, and O0 Apparel. So let's set the tone for a moment, and we'll be right back.
It's almost time for Wolfstock. Wolf Radio's yearly free music festival is raring up again, featuring games, prizes, free food, and the best of Carrollton's local music scene. April 9th from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Campus Center. Be there or be square. Woolstock 2026 brought to you by Westwoods Apartments at Live Westwoods, Dine West at UWG_Dine_West, Flagship Carrollton at Flagship Carrollton, Illuminated Productions, IlluminatedProd.com, Oger Apparel at Oger Apparel, and listeners like you. Thank you.
I started reading a book about a maze. I got lost in it. You're listening to Wolves of the Written Word.
Welcome back to Wolves of the Written Word. And if you're just tuning in, we're just talking about banned books. And we have someone, of course, coming right in late on the time, of course, Janelle Michelle.
Wow.
Okay, then. That was shady. That was really shady to say on air. That was very shady to say on air. Hey, y'all. It's me, Janelle. I may be late, but that does not discredit the things that I have to say today, okay?
Of course, it does not. So before we, of course, get started, let's take a moment to thank our partners. When you look good, you feel good. When it fits good, you feel good. Now you can rep your favorite college station with our brand new merch store powered by O0 Apparel. Visit thewolfUWG.com and click about. That's thewolfUWG.com and click about. So, Janelle, as you have already been informed, we have been talking about banned books and mostly about our first encounters with banned books. Before we, of course, go into the newer topic, what was your first experience with a banned book?
I think very interestingly, my first experience with a banned book was very unknown, as is most of my experiences with banned books. I mostly read books for enjoyment, and I am not aware of the fact that I have read banned books until after the fact that they've been banned. Like, I think the first banned book that I read knowledgeably was maybe Fahrenheit 451, but then banned books that I loved that I didn't even know were banned until either recently or a couple years ago was The Hunger Games, The Poet X, The Hate You Give. Like, these are books that I love, and the fact that they're banned books is so crazy to me because it just tells me that y'all are afraid for people to have knowledge. Y'all are very afraid for people to have knowledge. Y'all don't want people to have their own opinions or anything about anything, and you don't want people to read so that they can form their own opinions.
Because my frustration with a lot of the young adult books and children books that are banned, they are like hefty topics that I feel like young adults and teenagers should be able to read. Because like The Hate You Give, that's a big one on police brutality in Black America. All American Boys, that's a book about a young Black boy who was mistakenly arrested. Ghost Boys was literally a book about police brutality. It's about a boy who gets killed by a police. And it's written in a way for young children to understand. So it's really frustrating that voices are kind of getting mudded. And my thing is, like, if you don't want your child to read that book, they don't have to read it. Why ban it?
Right. Like, just because you want to keep your kid in a certain mindset and you don't want your kid to be aware of the things that are going on in the world around them doesn't mean that you have to take this away from everybody. Because I know plenty of people who love The Poet X. It's a very good book, and it's very informative, and it's letting you know about a different person's perspective other than the life that you're living in your own. And you're banning it for what? You have no reason. You have no reason to ban it.
Banning a book is a bit of a giant surprise, and it's hard to kind of recognize how much importance it is to recognize that these are kind of something important that we collect in our childhood and most of our livelihood. And we want to bring a bit more of some attention to these books that have been, of course, been removed, which allows people to engage a bit more to the literary material. So we have, but in the previous topic, we talked about our first encounters with banned books, but now we're going to talk about a variety of banned books, like what's something that is our favorite or kind of something that we've read that we didn't know was banned before. So what are some of your favorite banned or challenged books?
What's yours?
What's mine? Well, I, of course, mentioned earlier that I have read Captain Underpants by Dave Pigley. That was a banned and challenged book. Just to inform you, Janelle, it was banned because it kind of gave insight into children to challenge authority, and also it had intentional misspelling, so people were worried that if kids were to read it, they'll intentionally misspell a lot of words. Harry Potter is also another one, but I did not know that it was, of course, banned. I didn't know it was banned until like around after. So Harry Potter's a pretty interesting book that has also been challenged or banned. Weirdly enough, Percy Jackson has not been challenged or banned at all, which is a pretty good thing. And I think that's mostly it. I think everything else is either mostly a classic literary kind of book where it has been banned, but those are kind of like my personal favorites.
I think I've already said what my favorite like banned books are, even though I wasn't aware of the fact that they were banned at the time. So like The Poet X, The Hate You Give, Hunger Games. But a book that I just learned is banned like today, did not know was banned. Perks of Being a Wallflower. I did not know that was banned at all, and I love that book, love that movie. It's so good, and it's teaches people a really important lesson, and I was very shocked to find out it was banned.
And yeah, I learned about two books that I like that are banned just now. Soulway by Lupita Nyong'o, which is basically a book about a young, dark-skinned little girl who learns to like love her shade. And like the book's message is that no matter what skin color you are beautiful. So it's kind of crazy that that book got banned. And then another book is called New Kid. It's basically about a POC who goes to a private school, and he's like the only or one of the only POCs at his school, and it's just a book about his experience. So it's really crazy that that book also got banned.
Crazy enough, the one that we were talking about during the break, Drama. That's a graphic
Drama's
novel.
a graphic
Drama.
novel. That is crazy to be.
So crazy. Like, why did they ban that?
I think it literally got banned because of the scene of like the guy. If you haven't read the graphic novel, it's basically a book about a play production, and there's two boys in the book, and they both like to act. One of the boys, like, he learns the female part, and then the girl gets sick, so he goes on stage for her, does the female part, and realizes that he's bisexual. And I feel like that is why the book got banned. Yeah, because of that element. But I feel like as a theater kid, it's a really good book. Like, I really don't understand why it's banned.
I don't understand why that's banned, especially because I don't think that's a good enough reason to ban a book.
It's not.
Especially when you think about like the fact that books like Percy Jackson have not been banned, but then these other books have been banned. It's just it's like, what's the level? Where's the line?
There's only one banned book that I agree with, but the whole series isn't banned, so it knocks it off. Twilight. I think Twilight needs to be banned and locked away into like the deepest, darkest part of the world, because that book is really problematic.
Yeah. I don't have a disagreement of that. We all know that I am not the biggest Twilight lover, so lock them up.
When I saw Twilight was on the banned book, I was like, we're doing something right. Because, like, Twilight's thing, like, that's, like, I don't agree on banned books, but for a book like that, I think that is, like, problematic for young readers. Because, like, the vampires in the book, once you get turned into a vampire, you're turned into the most beautiful version of yourself, and that includes skin lightening. So, like, through the process of becoming a vampire, you turn whiter and whiter and whiter and whiter.
Which is
That's
so
crazy. That is
Colorism
insane.
propaganda,
And then
bro.
it's anti-Native American, too. So, that's a harmful book.
Yeah.
But there's no way The Hate You Give and Twilight should be under the same banned book category.
This is my point. Like, where is the line that we're drawing? Where is it that we say, oh, this is way too much, but this is okay, I guess, because The Hate You Give and Twilight not on the same spectrum at all.
And it's only one Twilight book that's banned, just the first one.
Right.
Like the other ones where he, what's it called, latches on to like a one-year-old
child
baby. Like, why is The Hate You Give banned, but only one Twilight book is?
These are questions.
And I think that is, you propose some very interesting questions, actually, and we will talk about that a little bit later into the episode. But before we kind of continue on, I would like to give out some important information that has been listed on PEN America, which is kind of a sort of an organization to bring awareness towards expression of freedom and banned books. Books are under profound attack in the United States. Our latest report, Banned in the USA, the normalization of book banning, found that 6,870 book bans were enacted during the 2024 to 2025 school year across 23 states and 87 public school districts. And everywhere is the books that have been long fought for a place on the shelf that are being targeted. Books by authors of color, LGBTQ authors, women, books about racism, sexuality, gender, history. PEN America pushes back against censorship and the intolerance and inclusion that undergird it. That was a quote from one of the research for 2025 by PEN America that lists sort of reports on how many books have been banned. But in the meantime, why don't we go into sort of something deeper?
All books are two sides of the same page. It's time for Related Reads.
Yes, that's right. This is our special segment, Related Reads, where we talk about any reading suggestions that we would like to give to each other and to you, our fellow listeners. Now, I know that we talked a lot about books that have been banned that we have read before, but what are some books that I feel like that you should at least add to your TBR to kind of be a bit more aware?
Like aware in general?
Yes. As you know, because these books have been challenged, they kind of brought to some issue in a community or something like that. Like some books aren't just banned because of gender or race. They can also be banned because of body image issues or even something related to hair or something about an allegory pretty much. So what kind of books would you say someone could add to their TBR list?
I would say The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I know I've mentioned it before in this segment, but I feel like that's a really good book, and it tells a very deep and important story that you wouldn't often see. And the whole reason that that story is even banned is because of the fact that they talk about sexual abuse. And I feel like that's a very important book for you to read and for you to be aware of, because it teaches you so much, and it overall is just a very enjoyable story. And if you're reading the book, you might as well watch the movie for the same reasons.
I say Stamped by Jason Reynolds and The Hate You Give and Parable of the Sower. I feel like we don't really see a lot of Black YA stories, and those books are super duper important and helped me formulate like my opinions as like an African American. And I feel like it's so important that young readers read books that reflect on them, because I remember when we were talking about like our Black author episodes, a lot of the books we were talking about are banned, which is really crazy to think about. So I feel like reading stories from other people's point of view and life experiences, those are important books to read.
I am a bit more of a ironic reader. I do also recommend Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, which is an ironic tale about firefighters burning books to remove any form of media literacy. And ironically, it was also banned for the fact that it brought to attention banned books. So other banned books include that regards around banning books or a community bringing to attention about banning a book includes This Book is Banned, which is basically an ironic book about a little girl in like middle school who creates like a banned book library like through her locker. And it mostly talks a lot about all of the iconic books like Captain Underpants and Are You There, God Is Me, Margaret, by I think Judy Blume as well.
They just turned that into a
And
movie.
another graphic novel was called Americus. I don't think it's challenged, but it also brought to attention about like a small town, and then like a little boy kind of has his favorite book kind of challenged and banned in a small town, so he has to kind of like stand up for himself and kind of get his book brought attention so that way it won't, be removed. And this is like a small town. It might have been like a maybe small conservative town, and this is like a graphic novel. I think it's in the Ingram Library. I read it before, but it's a very cool thing. I like books that kind of not really have like an allegory or anything that kind of like has like a main topic, but more so like bringing awareness to an issue by this issue. And if it gets banned, then you're kind of pressing more against the issue.
I agree with you. I think banned books are important, and there's so many different types of banned books, and they go into many different genres.
Another one I think that most people could add to their TBR are challenge books that are pretty simple, that things that are like something that a book that you think would be banned, but you wouldn't think would be banned.
Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss's Hop on Pop.
Dr.
Yes.
Seuss's
I
Hop
feel like
on
we
Pop.
didn't talk about that
We
yet.
did not.
Because Hop on Pop is a banned book. I don't understand
For
why.
why?
I don't get the logic behind it. It's
Mm-mm.
literally just about a book about a little boy like jumping on his dad's belly, and like they do that in like TV shows like Peppa Pig and stuff like that. So I don't understand why that book is banned. And I feel like Dr. Seuss has more problematic books
Yeah.
that should be banned. Like
The fact
It's
that that's
a
his
bit of
band
a
book-
stretch.
It definitely is a big stretch. The fact that that's his band book is what's
That's his
crazy.
like
That's the book that they were just like, actually,
we draw the line there.
yeah.
That's the line where they're drawn. Another book that is a bit of a surprise to me and a bit of a lore drop here for me. Back in sophomore year of this college of West Georgia, I had to create a creative nonfiction essay where I talked about banned books. And one of the main books that I had an example of was not Captain Underpants or even Fahrenheit 451, but rather something called, I think, Strawberry Freckleface, I think. It's like a book written by Juliana Moore, like the actress, about like a young redheaded girl wanting to feel confident in her freckles and her hair. And of course it was banned. In fact, it became one of the most banned books, I think maybe 2 years ago. And it was like a very prominent example. So if you would like to be more aware of trying to press against the issue of banning books, read Strawberry Freckleface by Juliana Moore. And it kind of gives you a bit more of an insight on what kind of person would even think to ban a book about a little girl.
And that reminded me, because I just looked it up. Junie B. Jones is a banned book, and I love that book. That book helped me like shape who I am, and I feel like the reason why that book was banned, because Junie B was like a really loud, outspoken person, like unapologetically herself, and it's really frustrating that a book like that got banned, because I feel like Junie B. Jones is like an inspiration to young girls. She like kind of shows people to speak their mind and don't take like nonsense from everybody. So the fact that that book got banned is insane.
Yeah. What I'm noticing is that they like to ban books that are meant for children or meant for young readers, because they want to stop
They
you,
want to cut it up the butt.
cut it up immediately. Because I remember when I was in like elementary school, my librarian or my teacher told me the dictionary is banned, and she was just like, this is banned and other books for you guys are banned because they don't want y'all to read. They don't want you to know.
Yes. Before we go any further, a quick word from our partners. College students who binge drink alcohol at least 3 times per week were roughly 6 times more likely to perform poorly on a test or project because of drinking. Dream City Brewing Company, Wolf Sports Network, and Wolf Radio proudly remind you to drink responsibly campaign. Students 21 and over should drink responsibly in an environment that discourages overindulging. Faculty won't take hangovers as excuses. And we're going to let this next track speak for itself, and we'll be right back.
keep calm and listen on. You're listening to Wolves of the Written Word.
Welcome back, everyone, to Wolves of the Written Word. And if you're just tuning in, we're talking about banned books. We have been having a very heated discussion about banned books, and which has been considered to be banned or not banned, and being a bit more aware of our favorite novels and reads that have been challenged once before. But before we get into the episode, let's show a little love to some of our sponsors. In a recent survey, almost 53% of full-time college students ages 18 to 22 drank alcohol in the past month. That is why Dream City Brewing Company, Wolf Sports Network, and Wolf Radio's Drink Responsibly campaign is here to remind you that there is no drinking under the age of 21. Never drink and drive, even if it's one alcoholic drink, and add food and water when you drink so you don't end up texting your ex, which means know your limits. Now, if you're, again, just tuning in, we have been talking about banned books, and now we're on to sort of more of the philosophical side of our conversation, where we kind of talked about mostly banning books and challenged books and bringing awareness of different books that have been challenged, kids' books, YA novels, regular novels, dictionaries, reference books, picture books. Anything that has been banned probably has been banned, but regardless, banning a book itself does lead to removal, but sometimes people still sell it. So often or not, it's mostly just about people trying to be a bit more pressy about certain literary topics. Now, Janelle has mentioned earlier in the episode about mostly certain books that have been banned that should be banned, which again kind of leads to a bit of a philosophical question about towing the line. Now, just to kind of be a bit informative, we do, of course, have the First Amendment, the freedom of expression, the freedom of speech, which includes books, meaning that anything including from Twilight or even Colleen Hoover, technically speaking, does fall under that protection. Now, in my opinion, of course, just expressing here, as long as it's mostly not causing as much harm compared to intentional writing or reads that have caused harm, including stuff that has been published during World War II or anything involving actual genuine hate to illicit hate, books like Twilight or even Colleen Hoover doesn't actually kind of fall under that kind of bracket or umbrella, only because of the fact that when I do at least read Colleen Hoover or Twilight, I don't feel the need to kind of cause a lot of harm or danger, at least.
See, I agree with that. I feel like no book should get banned. However, I feel like there's a lot of books that like elevate and highlight white supremacy that have not gotten banned yet. And for me, that's like a frustration. Like, why is the Hate You Give banned and that's not? And I'm all for like freedom of expression. But like a book like Twilight, I feel like that's like a dangerous piece of propaganda. When you're saying in the book, the only way to be beautiful is if you're pale skin. That's crazy.
Active
when you
propaganda.
When you have Native Americans as dogs and have like the white beautiful people call them like slurs, that's dangerous propaganda.
Active
Like,
propaganda.
it's insane. And then my issue with Colleen Hoover's books is I feel like that those books definitely promote like domestic violence, and I think she writes to toe the line, and I feel like she writes to get a reaction.
She does.
Because I used to read her books, and sometimes it just feels like she's rage baiting me. Like, she wants to get a reaction out of you, and a lot of the times, like, she's going to be safe. Like, even though her books get banned, they get turned into movies a few months later.
They do. Honestly, I agree with that. Like, playing devil's advocate, sure. No book should be banned.
Mm-hmm.
Truthfully, there's freedom of speech. No book should be banned. But to play devil's advocate, who's saying that your book about domestic violence and white supremacy is better than this other person's book about police brutality and the immigrant Caribbean experience?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is saying that you are better. There's no reason that you should not be banned and this person should be banned, if we're being real. So it's like, what is the... I would love to sit down with the people who decide to ban books and actively pick their brain to see what is the decision.
Mm-hmm.
How did we get here? How did we decide to... Did you even read the book?
That's
First of
my
all,
thing.
did you read the book? That's the first question I would ask. Because, okay, you're saying it's this, and that. Did you read the book or did you get a synopsis? let's actually tell the truth. Did you read it or did you get a
Oh,
synopsis?
come on. You know they don't read the book.
There's no
course
way.
they
Because again,
don't.
only the first Twilight book is banned, which is crazy to
Because
me.
if you've read the other ones, or even if you've just watched the movies.
Or just watch just watch the movies.
Just watch the
Like,
movies. You'd be like, actually,
This is kind of problematic.
yeah. Maybe we should ban, like, I don't know, the last one.
We're imprinting on children.
You know.
That's yeah.
And we are proposing some pretty interesting ideas here, and we are not the first three to kind of present this idea as well. I know that for the protection of our First Amendment right, we have the freedom of expression. However, we do not have the protection of retaliation, of course. Now, technically speaking, that does, of course, mean that it does lead into other kind of problems. Now, would I say that I like Colleen Hoover's book, and would I agree that she deserves some kind of Pulitzer Prize for literature? No. Would I want to, I would say, drive over or do something or something kind of, to kind of show my, I guess, disdain towards her? No. Because, one, she probably doesn't know who I am. And two, I have, like, other important things, and that's a waste of my time, money, and energy. So I kind of want to kind of open the table towards this. Who should have the authority to challenge or ban a book? Now, just to kind of, before we begin that discussion, just to kind of inform, authority does not just mean the government. In fact, when I was writing my nonfiction essay about banned books, most of the banned books that have been removed, often or not, have been mostly public counties. And it's only other states like Florida or anywhere else, even Texas, that had like a bigger impact on banning books. But usually, it's usually maybe a small town or a county or even your local library or some mom who's got a bit angry about some book that their kid has read. It's not like a whole federal thing. Well, at least not yet, at least. But
Knock
for
on
now,
wood.
it's mostly like a very small kind of thing. So if someone in Carrollton did want to remove a book and they can take it up to their local office or their mayor or whoever, they could probably do that. But it's mostly them because, again, they also have the authority to speak their mind about what is troubling them or what is actually going on. So who should, of course, have the full-on authority to toe the line between challenging or banning a book?
No
and
one.
again,
No one, yeah. And like what's yours? Let's use a small town as an example. So let's say we have a small town called Wheatfield. And the population of Wheatfield is 100. Mama Wheatfield is upset about a book, so she goes to the mayor. And the mayor agrees and gets that banned. So the people in that town, they should not be reading that book. That sounds like very dystopian. Like you're banning books. These people are in like a bubble where they aren't able or aren't allowed or aren't supposed to in the education system read a certain book. That I feel like that's kind of like programming kids, especially since this is our like the target, to not think for themselves, to not formulate their own opinion. They're essentially little robots. So the town of Wheatfield, they all are robots who think the same, act the same, but when they go out into the real world, they learn
Nobody
it's not like
else
that.
is thinking. Also,
Like-
who gave Mama Wheatfield the?
Like exactly, like
Like, who gave her
my
the
thing is,
power?
who gives you the authority to go and say a book should be banned? Just don't read it at your house.
Right. That's also something that I've never understood, especially in like, I don't know why, but we said small town, so the first thing I'm thinking of is not even a book. Footloose. I'm thinking of Footloose because in this world of Footloose English, yep, in the world of Footloose, who they said, oh yeah, we do not mess with the music. The music is killing the kids. We're done with it. Music is banned. Why? Why not just be like, my child is not going to read this book. My child is not going to watch this movie. My child is not going to listen to this music. Because that's a normal thing that people do and that families decide, parents decide. Parents will be like, oh yeah, I'm not okay with this book. You're never going to read that. I'm not okay with you watching this TV show. You're never going to watch that. Why are we going as a collective and just banning this from everybody in our small town? There's no reason for you to do that. And also, what's your reasoning behind trying to ban this? Is it because you personally don't like it? Is it because it's something that they're talking about in it? Like, what's your reasoning behind this decision?
I feel like banned books get banned because they make people uncomfortable. Because the top books that get banned deal with issues on like LGBTQ, the Black experience, a POC experience in general, on women's rights. And it's just like, you're banning these books because you're uncomfortable. Like, there's no other reason to ban it. Like, you just don't like the themes. You don't want your kids to read the themes. You're uncomfortable by it. And, like, come on, you live in, like, a world where you have to be, like, a little bit comfortable with getting uncomfortable. And if you don't read important topics, you are going to just live in ignorance.
Yes, and I know that, and I noticed that for like maybe more religious households or anything, they kind of do become into this kind of small bubble where like they don't really express the world and how it actually works, and it kind of causes kind of like sort of a pushback at least. I know we mentioned Twilight before, but I don't know if you guys are aware, but Stephanie Meyer was raised Mormon.
Mormon, yeah.
And also, even though that these are kind of like problematic elements, just to be glad that it hasn't been like something a bit worse, because again, if you honestly think about it, Bella and Edward kind of didn't really get intimate until after they kind of got married, meaning that like some of her religious kind of experiences still kind of play into kind of the novel itself. And it kind of also proposes kind of a pretty interesting question where I know that when a book proposes an idea, it's easy to realize how much pushback is from an idea. And I mentioned before my media diversity assignment where I had to like give like a diverse grade on a movie about how much it represents something. Yes, like I did Superman, the new Superman movie that came out.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a very good movie. But when I did my grading, it got like maybe a B minus. Well, when I got it. Well, in terms of media diversity, because, you know, it's not from a POC perspective because the main character is white. There are people of color that are in supporting roles.
Mr. Terrific.
Yes. That don't fall into stereotypes, but they don't have any other fleshed out roles. And also it failed the Bechdel test, if you guys are aware of what that is. The Bechdel test?
Yeah.
Where a movie has to have two named women characters, and they have to talk to each other, and it has to be something other than a man, and it doesn't have to be romantic either. The movie can fail the test if two women characters who are related to each other talk about their brother, and the movie can fail the test.
That's crazy.
That's why I don't like that.
It's a fixed test. It's not about ethics or anything. It's just a very fixed test. So Superman is a B minus, but when I look on the website, Sinners is A, obviously because it's Sinners, and C is Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. So Superman is more diverse than Frankenstein, but not as diverse as Sinners.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, even though Superman's an alien, at the end of the day, he's played by, like, a white man. And I think Mr. Terrific and Hawk Girl, was she Hispanic? Yeah, she was Hispanic in this version. Those are the two main POC characters.
Yes, there's a lot more kind of POC characters, like the engineer, I think, is also Hispanic, too. The villain character with the nanobots. And it kind of brings up a pretty interesting question, because I know that for books, when you write, you're presenting an idea, any kind of idea, including environmentalism, domestic abuse, race, gender, anything, which allows you to be more aware and brings kind of a connection to some kind of community. And you can expect some kind of pushback because, again, like we said before, we do not like Colleen Hoover or Twilight, but when they were created, in some kind of way, they did express some kind of idea about some kind of thing. Were they done well? No, I can agree with that. But at the same time, you also got to remember that the expression of that idea kind of brings to light of something else, you know? As long as that idea doesn't spark something that can be spurred on by hate, meaning that I do not want to make a vampire romance novel just because I did it because I hated Twilight. And I do not want to make something involving a serious topic such as domestic abuse because I hated Colleen Hoover. I wanted to make art out of love and the expression of true creativity. It's about that time again where we are, of course, going to end the episode. I'm very happy in this discussion about banned books and the freedom of expression. Hopefully, when fall rolls around, we actually can talk about an episode on Banned Book Week so we can kind of get that prominence.
Yes, I agree. I think banned books are a very important topic, and it's something that if you are very into reading or like if you're in the literary world, you talk about it a lot, but if you're not, you don't really think about it that much until it starts to affect you. And I think we're slowly reaching a point that it's starting to affect people.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like as readers, we should all make sure that we're reading diverse books and books that are outside our comfort zone. And I feel like also avoid hate speech text if you can.
Yes.
Yes, and also, even if you experience a book or any topic that does make you uncomfortable, you do not have to experience it yourself. You can just turn away and ignore it. Basically, the only thing that you can control is yourself and how you experience it, not what is actually out there. So yes, even though I will probably never read a Colleen Hoover book, I'll always turn away. But at the same time, hopefully things in the future will, of course, be better. In the meantime, I'm your host, Sean Smith,
I'm your co-host, Janelle Michelle.
I'm your co-host, Adia Stubblefield.
and this has been Wolves of the Written Word.